Darrell, thank you for your time this morning. People might be watching this time at night, but right now it's morning. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Indeed. Now, I guess if you don't mind, let's kind of start by I could read your bio. I could tell people, what I found out about you. But if you would maybe present yourself to our folk the way you like to be presented to the world, if you would.
Okay. A couple ways. I call myself the techie's favorite techie. Um, yeah, kind of identify myself at the intersection of three things, technology, social impact, and all things culture. So, long story short, at an early age, 14, got into tech, hardcore coder, etc. Climbed all the appropriate ranks in technology. Um, kind of fighting some of the odds of, being the only one that looked like me and young and all those things. But as I kind of developed, just kind of stayed true to myself. And found kind of a different purpose for me, and that was how can I use all my technology to help others, from a philanthropic standpoint. There's a lot of great people out here doing great work, whether it's nonprofits, universities, individual people, and technology plays a role in everything nowadays. It really makes a difference. So how can we bring technologies to support those things? And then last but not least, just, being able to connect with my community I came up with, still being able to resonate with young people, and just kind of bringing all sides of me together and just be the best who I can be.
Got you. Where first of all, where did you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I grew up on the East Coast, Richmond, Virginia,
Okay.
which is it's not a small city. It's not a big city. We went through a lot of identity crises in terms
Mhm.
of are we north? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I kind of grew up on all things New York rap, and then as South boom, it's like okay, we're part of the South as well. So a pretty cool, middle of the road place to live in Virginia, but now currently in Atlanta.
Okay. All right. I did the thing that New Yorkers do, and I moved to Atlanta as well. So I'm right down. We're probably right down the block from each other. And also have to give you some props. I usually win the backdrop game, but you got a little something there, and I appreciate that. I
A little
recognize it.
something. I'm upset. I ain't had time to put some more of my hip hop memorabilia up there. So
It's okay.
you got me on that one.
It's all right. It's all right. We could do a round two, and we'll battle it out. It'll be a whole thing. Um,
Definitely.
so of course at Microsoft, the reason why obviously you really came to my attention, although obviously you're doing quite a bit more work that we will want to talk about, get into. The Flow Scholar project with the Hip Hop Museum, formerly known the Universal Hip Hop Museum, just for those who might not recognize, they did change their name. They're good folks. We know a lot of them. We've talked to a lot of them and worked with some of them as well. The Flow Scholar program kind of came through your the work you do connecting with cultural
Exactly.
community organizations. So can you give a little just give a little description what this Flow Scholar project is about, what
Yes,
it
sir.
does, and then how it came to life?
Yeah, so I kind of go the other way. So what
Yeah.
people
Okay.
may not realize is the Hip Hop Museum is a nonprofit. Most museums, about all of them are. So the work that I found and lead at Microsoft, dating back to the 2020, just days after the killing of George Floyd, is part of our racial equity commitments of how we can use the power of data and technology to address racial injustices. Or it's another way I like to say it, bringing all things tech innovation, skilling, career awareness, and workforce development, frankly, to Black and Brown marginalized communities all over the country. And I created a program to where, contrary to what people believe, they see Microsoft, world's largest tech company, you see headlines of however many billions Xbox paid to buy Activision Blizzard. And, people just assume that we can touch every Manny in the world and make your life better. And that's not feasible. But instead, what I do believe in what we created was a way that we can support every one of those entities that is working with every man, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And that's those nonprofits, those community-based organizations, those HGCUs, and how in a one-to-many fashion we can work with them and then through them. So with them is bringing all the latest and greatest technology to support their mission. If it's a nonprofit focused on, food insecurities in the neighborhood or homelessness or, whatever education, how can we make sure that they have the technology they need for the highest impact on their mission? And when you look at least in the Black community, Black-led nonprofits receive unrestricted grants at a 76% smaller rate than their counterparts, which means they don't get the money to just invest in things like technology or people. So, bridging that gap for them, giving them the free licenses to software to run their nonprofit at the highest level, we know that will have an impact on their mission. But then what that also gains for us, man, is, partners at a hyper local level from
Mm,
whatever borough in New York to the west side of Atlanta. We now have these partners that now through them we can get all of our workforce development and career awareness into every Manny and every little Manny there is.
right.
Um, so for me, when tapped to do this, I understood two things. One is, a lot of times we look at STEM, but I like more STEAM, and that A is for arts and culture. And all things arts and culture are valuable career pathways. It's no way that we can tell a young person now that they can't be great by singing, dancing, acting, whatever, because they open their phones and they see people do it. So
Right.
instead, let's give them the tools to be great with it. You follow me?
Yep.
And then also too with me, I know as someone who's very representative, what the hip hop culture is a part of me. It's part of my DNA. You follow what I'm getting at? When I'm feeling a certain type of way, I'm cutting on a certain artist. You know what I mean? From hype, that's a certain artist. From feeling down, that's a certain artist. If I want to be inspired, that's a certain artist. It is critical to us. So we can't shy away from something that's so important within our Black and Brown community, and we need to actually foster that. So, Microsoft made a commitment to support that hip hop museum. Provided some funding to the actual physical museum, which is going to be opening next year, which we're all excited for. But with all things AI right now, this was an excellent opportunity for us to show people the power of what we call generative AI and how we can help to create a tool with the hip hop museum that's someone can think of it as a fun tool, but we call it an educational tool where you can put in certain prompts, which is teaching you the concept around prompt engineering, but you're putting in certain prompts. You're answering certain questions of who you are, what inspires you, what is your rap style, what are the beats you like, etc. And then for it to be able to spit out a few bars for you that can then, for even actual artists, maybe get them out of that brief writing block moment. You know what I mean,
Sure.
man?
Right.
So this is something that we see as something that can really support, whether it's current artists that need a little push at the moment. I mean, everybody uses ghostwriters, so or why why a computer can't be a ghostwriter for you? But then
Right.
also thinking about some of those young people. And the last thing that I'll kind of say is I think it really makes things equitable in terms of there's probably been a lot of, let's say, a great singer, beautiful voice, you know what I mean? But someone told him or her, okay, but your content sucks. Your voice is great, but what are you talking about? And when you think about what someone has to do is they need to, pay a ghostwriter. They need to find someone to be able to say, hey, can you write these lyrics for me? Where now someone can sit right at home
Mm,
and kind of remove that barrier. So
mm,
that's how Flow Scholar started, and that's
yep.
what it is, and we're just really proud of the possibilities for it.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of uh confusion or apprehension around AI in general, especially with the arts. So, and with songs being released and we don't know if it's actually a person or not. But this is something that is aimed towards, two things. Number one, like you say, kind of just creative spark, not creative replacement. That's fine. Writers do that all the time. I have tackling a concept. I just need a quick outline to get my thoughts, and then I just rock out, and I'm not really using the thing to write the thing.
Yep.
That's not what's happening here. And of course, you say, and you slipped it in, but I think it's actually an incredibly vital part. The prompt engineering part. What I it's funny. I mean, you don't know this. I actually do a keynote talk presentation called "Hip Hop Can Hack Everything," and I actually did present to Microsoft at one of your employee resource groups, one of your somewhere in
Okay.
some vast corner of your company at one time. And one of the points that I always make when I'm doing any kind of talk or advocating for hip hop as a tool to help improve society is that hip hop always gives you life skills that are transferable to something else.
Absolutely.
Everyone who wanted to be a rapper, myself included, maybe you, we tried to write rhymes, we tried to do our things, we wanted to be an artist, and maybe we didn't make it to that commercial creative, success level, but we're better public speakers
Absolutely.
because we spent some time spitting in front of people. We're better, processors of information because we took stuff in and now we know how to, spit it back out in a different format. And that's what this is doing on the technological tip. It's giving somebody who may never have thought of prompt engineering, which is a huge thing to know about these days, at young in communities where, like, the resources to technology aren't always available, in a fun way that's going to be able to like do something cool with them, and that will give them this spark of innovation that they may not have otherwise had access to. This is right.
Absolutely. I'll never forget. I think it was back in August when we unveiled the Flow Scholar tool at our office in New York. We had hip hop legend Ice T come and introduce it to about a group of 20 New York kids, and I got to kick off with a presentation. And I kicked it off, and my first slide was, "What is prompt engineering?" Right.
Mm,
And then my second slide was about 4 news articles, Forbes, and I can't remember the other ones. And then the headline was the job that's paying $300,000 a year with no degree. And
right.
you should
There
have
you go.
seen me. Not only just the kids, the adults in the room. I was like, "What? Prompt engineering? What is? How do I do that?"
Right.
Right. So you're 1,000% correct. It's really, teaching a lot of those, foundation and even intermediate skills in prompt engineering in a culturally engaging way. That is one of the
Right.
things that I'm really big on is when we think of the education system as a whole, K through 12, colleges, whatever, for whatever reason, someone created, this is the way you teach kids, and you have to teach all kids should learn this way. And that's not the case, especially if you're not taking into consideration their environment and where they're coming from and things of that sort. So we have to move things in a different way. So absolutely, the other thing I want to just hit on what you talked about, you're absolutely right.
Mm,
Now with Flow Scholar, we tell people like this is just a start. Now take these bars, change them up, make it to what you own. This is not the end all be all. And when we think of Microsoft as a whole, there's a reason we our product for all things generative AI that's in the Microsoft suite or that's in Bing and the website. It's called Copilot. Why? What does a Copilot do? Your Copilot is assisting you.
mm.
In all things generative AI are not meant to replace. They're meant to guide you and be able to assist you, but you still need to come and put your oomph on it every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll come back. I want to talk to another aspect of what AI can do to help, again, either communities or organizations that don't have resources, because obviously there's things it can do to help crunch data or bring together, different, processes that you can automate so that you save yourself time. I do it. I'm a very not many man show here, and of course, there's a lot of things I had to do. You got a calendaring system that we talked to your folks about. So there's all kind of things happening. This thing was automated. We sent the link. It's
Yes.
one
Yeah.
less thing we have to do. But before I kind of lose my train of thought, I'd want to. You're in a very specific place where you're at a big tech company. Your focus is, to equity and inclusivity and all that. And
Mhm.
AI has been known in some other places, in some other situations, to not be friendly. Let's just
Mhm.
say to Black and brown communities specifically, in terms of how facial recognition software is put together, how some of these AI generative tools can't draw black folk, like create, like there's been some problems and that's in part because of, I think, society's greater issue with having diversity built into the core of everything they do. That's
Yeah.
not the case. So these tools fail in that regard. How important it is internally, not just connecting with the outside world at Microsoft. How important is it to the company and to your work in particular to make sure that stuff isn't prevalent in at least your work, but
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
tech sector as a whole.
No, absolutely. And, even though the majority of the world got on the AI train year and a half ago, this is something that, we within Microsoft have been working on and part of for years. And we've been, forward thinking around some of those things. So we have within Microsoft something called responsible AI. And I used to be one of the responsible AI champs within philanthropies. And essentially, the way that works is if there are certain projects that we as Microsoft internally or one of our partners are wanting to leverage our technology to deploy, and there is even the smallest hint that there could be some biases, it has to go through a very rigorous review process. And there's plenty of examples where we have denied said project and said, no, we won't do this. We won't allow you to use our technology because we know those biases exist. So that is a responsible AI framework that we've had in place for many of years. But you're exactly right, which is why we are on the forefront of solving that. And the way we solve for that is we gotta get more people skilled in AI. So who's on the other end creating these solutions? They start to look much more diverse. They're more inclusive. They start to put in these models, to your point, not just, a bunch of pictures of, middle-aged white men, but this is someone who's now saying, okay, I need to have someone who has dreads in here. I need to have someone who has
Right.
this. And, there's various religions and, there's different headgear and things that people wear. So we need to include all of these things in our models to train them. So that is why it's uber important for us to just teach as many people how to be in this field. And that is one of the things that we as philanthropies are taking the charge with and leading, how making sure that not only our nonprofits are using AI, but then also kind of like I said, through them, through our schools and universities, we're providing as much training as possible. So as soon as we're creating the latest and greatest in generative AI,
Right.
we're trying to pass down those training to people in the community.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've seen some of your work out in the field. If just give a couple of maybe real world examples. You say you go to schools, you do a couple of things. What are some of the programs that you lead that are actually on the ground in the in the places doing the things?
Yeah, I mean, we do it somewhat regularly out of our office here in Atlanta. Since it is hip hop, we're really closely with LVRN Records, and we've done a couple of events with them. A lot of times we're focusing on our college age females, and we're bringing them in from Spelman and some of these other schools. And we've done some of these workshops where they leverage prompt engineering, Flow Scholar to be able to create music. We also did the same thing with Dolly, the technology to be able to generate images,
Hmm.
and then kind of show them the entire life cycle as it relates to, the possibilities in the future of music to where, essentially you can pick a beat, AI can help you, write those lyrics. And then AI can help you create your album artwork, and here's a package. But then also wrapping them around all the other industry professionals from marketing, et cetera, within that record label to be able to just show them that that's just one piece. Here's our technology can power it, and then here's some things moving forward. So I mean, whether it's something like that or things that we're doing even at the youngest of ages, through coding, through
Mm.
video game coding. Launched a partnership with the Harlem Globetrotters called Trotters. We're
Oh
using
yeah.
something called Microsoft MakeCode, which is a free web-based game development tool, perfect for anyone, not only kids, but you can be 50 years old wanting to learn video game coding for the first time. And with that, we're teaching them not only coding techniques, we're teaching them video game techniques, but then also sneaking in, AI concepts You know, like I said, even at the earliest age, elementary and middle school, they're starting to understand some of these things.
Yeah, that's dope. Obviously, when you have folks that don't, I've seen some of these programs where it's aimed at kids, it's hip hop, or like even video game is great conduit as well, because they're just not, they just don't think, I didn't think, you didn't, that you could, that computer programming is even a thing. Like if you don't get exposed to that concept, you don't know how the games are, you just play the game. Like you don't think that you could touch a computer in that way so early in life that that becomes your career path. It just,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
know.
and you hit the nail on the head. So many don't know, but I think what's more disheartening is these things are out here.
Hmm.
It's just like so much things. If we just look within this country and this society, things aren't making it to everyone at the same time.
Right.
And I'll give you a prime example. I think we all know Minecraft, which is, you know, if I'm not mistaken, it's the number one stream game. It's a game, you know, all kids know it, but people don't even realize there's Minecraft Education Edition,
Right.
where through that you can not only, you know, teach all types of concepts through Minecraft, but you can actually teach them those, you know, elements in coding and building, and then you can introduce other concepts, like architecture. You know what I mean?
Right.
We've done that. We've done challenges, whether it's at the high school level or colleges. Can you reimagine what your college looks like that's more inclusive and more sustainable
Hmm.
and things of that sort?
Hmm.
Sure. And then these kids are learning, you know, they're learning how to build in Minecraft, but they're also learning architecture and sustainability concepts at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, we find that what I champion here, obviously, reason why we're talking, the idea that hip hop is the conduit, maker. Like there, yes, you can get in through video games. Yes, you get it through sports and through sneaker heads and all that stuff. But hip hop has everything, and it connects to everything. And
Yeah.
there's nothing, in the talk that I do, tech based, like the history of innovation, technological innovation through hip hop, from the fact of just going back to touching the turntables in a unorthodox way, all the way to how Soldier Boy pimped the peer-to-peer networks, all the way. There's so many innovative stories and anecdotes and histories that you could then show a young person through the music and culture they love to have it click in their head.
I talk about that all the time. I feel like you and I are around the same age. I mean, just how I've innovated from things called DAT tapes to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, physical taking things to radio stations and all of this to, you know, the invention of internet, MP3s, how that works. But then, you know, even streaming and how that's evolved, you know, whether it was a Kanye and I forgot which particular album it was, and it was like he put it out, but it wasn't finished and he goes
Right.
and just updates the song on streaming.
That was
Um,
brilliant. Yeah.
you
Maybe
know,
Life of Pablo, but yeah, I
yeah,
think it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or how
Crazy
about
concept.
wasn't there a little rift between Beyonce and Khalees? I think Khalees was on her song and but Beyonce used some sample from Khalees. Khalees didn't like it, so you know what Beyonce did? She took her off, pushed it right back to the streaming services.
Right.
Or most recently, and I happened to be at Dreamville Fest, standing there when J. Cole says, you know, he makes his apology and says, I forgot he said, hey, let's take that song off the streaming network. So it really has revolutionized, you know, distribution of music, you know, collaboration of music. I mean, technology is just vital to all things. Like, do artists even get together in the studio anymore to make records?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We don't even get together to do an interview, and we're
Yeah,
right
I
down,
know.
right around the corner. Well, maybe we should have. I should have thought about that, but it's all good. But then we wouldn't have had the backdrops. We would need all the
Yeah.
cameras. This is okay. That's okay for now. No, I appreciate that, and that's the thing we champion here, because hip hop can be that. You talk about how most people think Minecraft and they see game, and most people think hip hop and they see music, and that's it. Obviously we talk about connections with music in the education system, health and wellness. We have mental health professionals that are connecting to kids through hip hop and using that to benefit lives as well. And on the technology front, there's so much, and that's why it's one of my favorite areas of intersection. So I'm so glad that we're talking. I'll keep you for just a couple more minutes if you could. What can the general public do? What can parents do? What can teachers reach out to Microsoft and say, hey, we use Microsoft, we got smart boards and all that stuff. I got, I can get a little curriculum allowance, or I can go out and
Yeah.
find some things. Are there ways that people, the general folk, can connect with the work you do to bring it to their kids if it's not being provided some other way?
Absolutely. We focus on the kids. There's a couple things that come to my mind. One is our TEALS program, which is like the color TEALS. And that is our computer science and high school program, where we are going into high school and then an intense focus on, high schools and, some of the underestimated communities and bringing this program there. And we do it in twofold. If said school has a computer science teacher to some degree, we bring in a tech professional and as kind of a teacher's aide and assist that person. We bring curriculum, or if it's the other way around, they don't even have anybody at all. We can come in and be able to bring that program. And I will say, we struggle with getting schools to sign up. And one of the reasons is, you know, sometimes it's really tough to get within the communities and need what we have to offer. So I say all that to say, if anybody is hearing this and you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a principal, you're some staff member at a school, and you all can leverage a computer science program that we can bring to your school. Please, and I wish I had the link, but please just Google or Bing Microsoft Teals. It'll go to the web page, and then you can nominate your school. That's the one thing. My work and my team is really, like I said, rooted on the nonprofits. And I just, if you can give me a moment to why that's so important. As I
Absolutely.
talked about with schools, uh, the inequities in schools, and then even sometimes a lot of red tape to do things in schools. You have the administration level principals, but then you have a school board, and all these other people that oversee. So when you think about bringing programming things into the school, it's not as turnkey as quick as possible. But you know who can pivot on the dime? Those community nonprofits that's around those same schools, that get those same kids after school, that get those same kids during the summertime. And then for the most part, a lot of these schools have those relationship and asking those nonprofits to come into the school. So we can effectively make change with our young people through those nonprofits. So if you're a
Mhm.
nonprofit anywhere in this country or actually globe, because my remit has changed, and twofold, you can leverage Microsoft technology resources for operational standpoint, from managing volunteers to fundraising to a learning management platform, all these things that can allow you from an operational standpoint.
Mhm.
And or you're a nonprofit that could take benefit of some of the curriculum that we have, that we can set you up, we can train your staff to be the ones teaching these concepts to your youth. And remember, all things Microsoft, AI, coding, cybersecurity, we're linked in. So when we think about career, professional development, resume prep, we can support with that. And then Xbox. Gaming is bigger than the movie industry worldwide. So how can we get more diverse people into that industry? We can teach them coding. We have programs to help people who want to be game publishers. Please reach out. Please go to a website called aka.ms/NTA. That's aka.ms/N is in nonprofit, T is in tech, A is acceleration. Sign up for my free program. Within a day, you'll get an email with next steps and get connected to my team.
That's brilliant. And that connection to the nonprofits is key. Like I said, and we do have a lot of educators also that listen to the show. We talk to a lot of folks. Again, our mandate, as you use the word, connecting hip hop to all these things. So we have a lot of teachers, but the nonprofit is so vital because, there's some places you can't get into the schools and do this kind of culturally responsive, pedagogy or any of these things. Just they're
Absolutely.
not going to go for it. But the community centers and the community organizations are sort of the key to getting in front of the community. So it makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Man, can I get one more shout out before we go?
Please
Um,
do.
Today is May 1st. We're recording this, which is the start of Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'm bringing that up for two reasons. I personally think that hip hop understand, how that can support people with mental health issues. I've said this publicly in a written interview. I say it here as someone who had battled depression and anxiety. One of my favorite artists to this day, rest in peace, is Juice WRLD. And you want to know
Mhm.
why? Juice was not afraid to talk about what's going on in his head, the demons, the things of that
Right,
sort. And
right.
for me, that normalized it for me. You follow what I'm getting at? And I felt less isolated and alone. And, hip hop does that to a huge degree for so many people. And we need to understand that, sometimes all you got is, your phone or your speaker. You may be all alone. And that's the one thing that's going to keep you from driving crazy at that moment. So I just wanted to say that I want to shout out one nonprofit called Silence the Shame. They're doing really big things. Started by amazing woman Shanti Das, a huge legend in the hip hop industry. Please follow, support that organization, and donate by texting the word silence to 707070. Silence the Shame is doing some amazing things to support mental health.
Yes, fantastic shout out. I know of Shanti Das. I've met her a couple times now that I'm here in the A. All roads lead through some
Yep.
certain folk down here. So, you know what I mean? So, and that's great. Future guest on here to talk about it, of course, I hope. And I appreciate that. I joke all the time. It's not a joke, but it's a joke. Of a certain age, hip hop hip hop heads will say, we used to rap about selling drugs. Now everyone just rap about taking drugs. And, like, I'm like, the first is like better, but okay, I hear you. The implication being that when young people talk about self-medication or, depression or these kind of, that it's soft somehow. And that's the implication. Where sometimes the older heads are just, a little bit more hard rock. I understand that.
Right.
But at the same time, that's something that we've always wanted, I think, from our music and our culture is to be able to address every aspect of what's going on in their lives. And I know that, you talk about Juice WRLD, we talk about this all the time, that these are ways to meet young people and even older people, halfway in ways that just didn't exist before. You couldn't reach certain kids with traditional westernized, methods of connecting mental health therapy. And now we have this wonderful tool. So instead of downplaying the content because you might not like what your kids are listening to, look for the keys and look for the ways in, the conduits. I always say, look, I'm not going to question my kid's taste in music if he's connecting to a song that's talking about self-medicating or feeling a certain type of way. I'm gonna take him to a therapist. I don't have to sit there and be like, your music sucks, bro, and then just keep it moving. That's giving me my conduit. That's giving me my spark and how to connect to my children better. And we can do that on a community level. So,
Also, another way to say it, those are signs, those are cues. Recognize
that's the
those
cue. That's the word.
signs.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Yep.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So
100%. Well, I'm glad we agree on that. I'm glad you brought that up. And we'll continue to, like I said before, we have folks on this show that do that work exactly in hip hop. So thank you for bringing that up and putting that in folks' minds, and they can keep tuned to us, and we'll find some folks who are doing that work to share with them. Do the end of interview things if you could, sir. Let us know like what you got going on, what's coming up. Any initiatives that you think folks should talk about, or should know about rather. And again, just bring it back to the beginning. What do you expect to see in your collaboration with the Hip Hop Museum going forward and the hip hop community at large?
yeah, lots of things. Some things I can't mention at the moment. So I say stay
Okay.
tuned. Follow me on all social media at Darrell Booker, DARELLBOOKER. Check out some of those things. Just continuing connecting with culture, working a lot with athletes across all sports, female sports, actors, etc., supporting their initiatives. So some of those things will drop soon. And then as it relates to hip hop, I definitely can mention work really closely with another hip hop legend, Ludacris, and his foundation. They're doing some amazing things in Atlanta. We've done several AI workshops and boot camps with him and his team. So we're going to continue pouring into him and his initiatives. And then we're going to marching up towards the opening of the Hip Hop Museum. You should see some cool Microsoft tech in there as well when that opens. And I really need people to understand the significance. This is not a 5,000 square foot little rinky-dink museum. This is a massive museum in the Bronx, and the significance that hip hop is. Now our legends have to aspire to get to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This will now shift, and people can now get inducted into the Hip Hop Museum. So this is really big for all things hip hop. I'll probably say every respectable person is either on the board or advisory member of this. So 2025 will be a big year for hip hop.
Yes, indeed. As I always said throughout the year last year, hip hop 50 is cool, but I'm looking at hip hop 51, and what are we doing?
There you go.
Moving forward. And the Hip Hop Museum is is a great job of moving forward to make sure we're properly looking backward and connecting and doing all things for the culture. So we have a lot of friends that are on that committee and all that. So
And then last but not least, I just want to shout out, Microsoft for collaborating with the Hip Hop Museum. I think,
Yep.
someone could easily say, however many years ago, Microsoft and hip hop in the same sentence would never work. But here we are and it's now, and it just really shows how amazing of a corporation we are. So.
Man, listen. I was making music. I was a writer. I was a hip hop head. I was a DJ, a producer, and I used Microsoft Windows my whole life.
There
So
you
look,
go. There you go.
y'all been in it. Y'all been in it. Not everything is the other folk.
Yep.
So I'll be the only DJ with a Surface Pro out there. They're like, well, looking at me like this.
Nothing wrong with it.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your work and your efforts connecting, doing all the work that you do. Obviously, as you could tell, I'm an advocate for it. I'd love to come out, follow, some of the events out here in Atlanta. You tell me when you got something else that you can announce. I'll spread it to the masses that follow what we're doing here. And I just appreciate you, man.
No, I appreciate you. And yeah, now that I'm over there, hey, we'll get you over to our new office. We got a studio in our Atlanta campus, the only Atlanta campus that has a studio. The great Zaytoven helped us design it. So I got to get you in there and check that out.
Yeah, for sure, man. We're here. And again, like I say, you have anything else community-wide, local or national or international, let us know and we'll spread that information. We got a newsletter. We have this show. And we'll bring you back on to talk, man. It's cool kicking it with you.
All right. You as well, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Peace.
Manny Faces. You sick for this one. Sick for this one. Sick for